I accidentally got injured, pretended to have amnesia, and lied to my fiancé that I didn't remember him. But instead of getting upset, he actually breathed a sigh of relief. He said, "I'm your friend." My fiancé turned into a friend, and the shared house became a place where I was just staying temporarily. He believed that I had really lost my memory. He brazenly held hands and kissed his secretary in front of me. Later, I recited word for word the vows he had once made to me in front of him. "John, who has really forgotten?" He panicked. "You stay in this room." John was on the balcony making a phone call, and his secretary Nina showed me around the house. "Here is where the first aid kit is kept. Over there are a few jars of honey." Nina acted like the mistress of the house, and also mentioned that John doesn't like the taste of durian, so I shouldn't eat it at home in the future. But this house, from the renovation to the furniture, was all arranged by me. I and John lived together here for 3 years. But now it looks like it's been turned into a shared space now. According to Nina, I'm just a friend staying at John's house, sleeping in separate rooms. When John finished his call and came back in, Nina immediately cuddled up to him, and after introducing her, I was exhausted. Hesitant, John was about to affectionately touch her hair, but he noticed me and abruptly stopped himself. Nina was displeased and looked towards me in protest. Then, she stood on her tiptoes, kissed John on the lips. "You forgot, she's just your friend." "A friend?" I lightly raised the corner of my mouth. "Actually, John is my boyfriend of 8 years. Last week, I accidentally fell down the stairs during a business trip, leading to a faint and a trip to the hospital. Fortunately, it turned out to be just a minor concussion, nothing serious. But when John rushed to the hospital to see me, I suddenly felt mischievous. When he asked me if I was okay, I looked at him with confusion and asked, "Who are you?" I just wanted to tease him a bit, not to make him too worried, but John took it seriously and was stunned. I pointed to my head. The doctor said it was hit, and I may lose some memory. Actually, I was starting to feel a bit uncomfortable, thinking that if he explained that he was my boyfriend, I would take out the pregnancy test results from my bag and give it to him. I thought, this should be the best gift for him on Chinese Valentine's Day. However, from John's reaction, from astonishment to contemplation, then visibly breathing a sigh of relief, I realized something wasn't right. He said, "I'm your friend, John." The person stunned was me. I couldn't understand why he would say such a thing, when clearly he had proposed to me. It wasn't until a charming girl followed in behind him, Ryan. When she saw me, she wanted to say something but hesitated. Then, right in front of me, she intimately helped John fix his tie and shirt. "Your clothes are messy." Initially, John tried to push her away. She repeated a word, "friend." John's rejecting movement halted, and the two of them looked at me almost in unison, trying to gauge my reaction. Testing if I really had lost my memory. I kept a poker face, but my hands were clenched below. When John was just starting his career, there were many girls who wanted to get close to him. To reassure me, even the secretaries he selected were almost all male. Only when he really needed a female secretary, he would ask for my opinion, and only if I agreed would he hire her. However, this girl today, I hadn't even heard him mention her before. So, John's reaction today made sense. It was just because he had found someone new and was trying to ditch the old love. But to simply discard 8 years of feelings with just a word "friend," it's not that easy. Betrayal is still betrayal, and the betrayer must face consequences. I looked at John. "Do you know where I live?" I don't remember. John was a bit at a loss. "Because we live together. If he took me home, it would surely be exposed." But after hesitating for a moment, he disclosed our cohabitation address. "However," he said, "you've been staying with me all this time." After being discharged from the hospital, I was brought to this so-called home where I was staying. Now, I had no intention of looking at Nina's demonstrations anymore, so I pretended to go back to my room to pack my things. As I opened the door again, they were no longer in the living room. Faint voices could be heard from the slightly ajar other room. The voices grew louder, and I could hear Nina's tearful voice clearly. I don't want her to stay here forever. Can't you ask her to leave tomorrow? John's voice, she just got out of the hospital and hasn't fully recovered. It's not right to ask her to leave now. Nina became more and more aggrieved, her voice sporadic and choking. Are you still not willing to let her go? You said you no longer had feelings for her, you were only with her because she supported you through tough times. Is this 8 years of relationship really that tasteless and meaningless to you? Were those words all lies? This was John's summary of our 8-year relationship. But just last month, we were still planning for the wedding. It turns out, love can really be faked. The door suddenly swung open, and Nina ran out teary-eyed. John followed behind her. When they saw me, they both froze. Tears were still streaking down Nina's face. John tentatively asked me, Wendy, did you hear everything? I looked calmly at them. Time passed by. John's expression visibly turned anxious. He took tentative steps towards me, wanting to reach out, but I stepped back. I looked up, smiled faintly at him, and asked, Hear what? John looked at me confusedly, trying to read something from my face. But I just smiled. Confirming I probably hadn't heard anything, John breathed a sigh of relief. It's nothing, just let me know if you need anything while you're here. I nodded, thank you. I'm planning to stay. The stage has been set, how could the show end without reaching its climax? I wanted to make this performance grand, then tragic. The next day, Nina came early in the morning with breakfast and invited me to eat together. She had bought a lot, so we ate together. I sat across from them and Nina peeled the eggs for John, feeding them to him. At first, John was uncomfortable and kept looking at me, but when he saw that I had no reaction, he finally opened his mouth and took a bite. Nina seemed satisfied, perhaps finding it exciting to do this in front of me. She fed him more eagerly. I gave her face and watched the whole time. After breakfast, Nina was content to go to work with John. I wiped my hands and called them back. John, I have something to show you. You can't leave the stage without our scene. It's my turn now. I took out a thick photo album that contained pictures of John and me together. I made the album myself, and John had no idea about its existence. I opened the album in front of him, and he looked puzzled. Are these our photos? He asked. But I don't know how they got here. John's face showed his panic. I pointed to one of the photos, probably taken on a Ferris wheel. It was when John and I had just started dating. I flipped the page. This one must be from when we went bungee jumping together. John's grandmother had passed away, and although he acted normal after coming back from the funeral, I knew he was upset. I wanted him to let out his emotions, so I took him bungee jumping. After the jump, he hugged me and cried. He said, Wendy, I only have you, we will be together forever. I continued flipping through the album. This one must be from a concert we attended together. As a couple, we were captured on camera about to kiss. After John kissed me, my favorite singer asked him, Is that the girl you're going to marry? John replied, I've already decided on her for life, wishing you happiness, and come to my concert after you're married. Memories flooded back, those scenes of love seemed like just yesterday. I clenched my fists, trying hard to control my emotions, and asked John, Is there something between us that I have forgotten? Memories were also hitting John hard. He looked emotional and said, Wendy, we. But Nina interrupted, clutching her stomach and tearfully looking at him. Can you take me to the hospital? John snapped back to reality, glanced at me with a complex expression, and then went to help Nina. Are you feeling very unwell? He asked her. Nina nodded, leaning into his arms. John carried her out, entirely forgetting what he had just been about to say. I closed the album, my hand on my stomach. John, it was your chance to confess, and you missed it. In the afternoon, while at work, I received a call from the jewelry store saying that the ring we had customized was ready. I was a bit dazed. The ring was designed by John and me, and it took nearly a year on and off. We finalized the design 8 months ago, and then sent the design to be made at the store. After thinking for a while, I decided to go to the jewelry store after work. The staff handed me the ring, congratulating Miss Wendy. I nodded faintly, not saying much. The joy I felt when bringing the design seemed ironic now. As I was about to leave, another staff member hurriedly stopped me. "Miss Wendy, here are your items." There were a pair of child's gold bracelets and a longevity lock. I was puzzled. I hadn't ordered these. They were added later by Mr. John over the phone, saying they would give them to you when they were ready. John really liked children. But at the time, we both agreed that we would wait for his career to stabilize before welcoming a new life. Now that new life had come, but things had changed. "Thank you," I said as I accepted them. For a moment, seeing the longevity lock, I felt a bit emotional and wanted to have an honest conversation with John. But now, as I saw Nina coming out of the bathroom wearing a strapless dress, that hint of emotion seemed laughable. The visible hickeys on Nina's neck made me feel nauseous. I rushed into the bathroom and threw up. In a haze, I couldn't tell if my stomach or abdomen hurt more. John knocked on the door outside, calling my name. "Wendy. Wendy. Are you okay?" Mentally, I felt transported back to when John's career was just starting. He was going to discuss business that night, and although he was still running a fever and had just received an 4 in the day, he was going to drink. I worried about his health and went to stop him from drinking that night. The deal was closed, but I ended up with a stomach hemorrhage, acute shock, and was rushed to the hospital. John cried so much his eyes were swollen. Every time I felt even a little discomfort in my stomach after that, he would become extremely concerned. Now, I took a moment, propped up my body, and went to the door. John reached out to help me. But a glass of water and a box of medicine were placed in front of me, blocking his attempt. John had put on Nina's jacket, looking at me with concern. "This is honey water and stomach medicine. Whenever my stomach hurt, John always gave me this. Try it." She stopped John. I looked at the two of them in front of me, feeling strangely clear-headed. John was no longer the guy who would cry with swollen eyes for me. The two of them in front of me were just actors. And I had to continue to play along with them in this drama. I braced myself, took out the gift box I picked up from the jewelry store today from my bag. It was something that was delivered to my company today. He said it was for John. "I thought it might be something you had asked me to pick up, so I brought it back for you." When John saw the name of the jewelry store on the gift box, he looked puzzled for a moment, then his eyes widened slightly, looking flustered. "Wendy, did you open it?" I didn't say a word, just looked at him lightly. I enjoyed seeing his fear and uneasiness as his lies were on the verge of being exposed. Lying was like walking on a knife edge, one misstep and danger loomed. This was his punishment. I wanted him to be tormented by his own lies. Yes, I looked. "It's a pair of rings," I said. John's forehead started to sweat. "Wendy, please, listen to me." I waited for his next words. Nina suddenly took the ring from him, and right in front of me, she struggled to slide the ring onto her ring finger. Her fingers were a bit thicker, and it got visibly stuck at the knuckle. John also noticed. "Nina, you..." She persisted, slowly pushing the ring down. Her finger was getting red and purple from the effort. Finally, the ring slipped completely onto her finger. She looked triumphantly at me, then turned to John. "It's all your fault for making me gain weight. The rings I had made before don't fit anymore. Looks like I'll have to ask the jewelry store to resize them." Nina found a perfect excuse for him. He sighed with relief and went along, admitting that the ring was indeed for Nina. "You're not fat, this size is just right." Then he turned to me to explain. "I wanted to surprise Nina, so I had it delivered to your company. Thanks for bringing it back." Lies always need more lies to cover up. To keep the lie going, one needs to say more lies, some clumsy and easily debunked lies. I smiled lightly. "It's okay, it was just incidental." I turned around, my gaze turning cold. But deep down, the pain lingered dull. "This is the second time, John. You still haven't taken this chance to come clean. So let this play go on. I took out my phone and called my good friend Emily. I had made plans with John to have dinner on Friday after work. I had tied my hair up in a high ponytail on purpose. When John came in and saw me, his eyes lit up for a moment. Why the sudden invitation for dinner? I smiled. I've been staying at your place, you don't charge me rent or utilities, so the least I can do is treat you to a meal. No need to be polite, after all, He paused. We've been friends since college, you look just like you did back in college. I didn't respond, just handed him the menu. While eating, we chatted casually. My phone buzzed. Emily messaged me saying she had arrived. My eyes flickered. I put down my chopsticks, looked up at John and said, "Actually, I invited you here today for another reason." It seems like my memory has started to return. John's chopsticks paused, looking slightly uneasy. Oh, really? What do you remember? I admired his expression. Not much really, just some images of us hanging out together popping into my head. But they're always fragmented, incomplete. I consulted a doctor, and the doctor suggested I ask you to recount the whole process. It would help with my memory recovery. Can you tell me? John put down his chopsticks, took a tissue to wipe his mouth back and forth. Just when I thought he was going to wipe his lips till they bled, he finally stopped. I lied to you, he said. We were more than friends. My eyes flickered as I looked at him. Just as I thought he was about to confess, he said, "Actually, I've been pursuing you since college, often inviting you to hang out under various pretexts. But you didn't seem very interested in me, kept treating me as just a friend, so I gracefully gave up. Those images in your mind are probably scenes of us hanging out, including those photos from that album you showed. They were taken when we were out together. The reason I didn't tell you was that I was afraid you'd feel awkward facing me. I'm sorry for deceiving you. It's true that I lied, we were more than friends, and we were out together." My lack of interest in him was false. A pile of truths wrapped around a falsehood makes it seem flawless. If it weren't for my fake amnesia, maybe I would have believed him and even felt sorry for leading him on. But unfortunately, I am not. As I watched him struggle to maintain the lie, I just found it all quite ridiculous. Suppressing the disappointment and pain in my heart, I picked up my drink. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. It's all in the past. He drank too, carefully observing my expression. With each lie he told, I was now completely able to face him without a hint of emotion. To the past. I raised my glass to him. Thinking that his explanation had convinced me, he raised his glass to toast back. Suddenly, he glanced past me, his pupils dilated. John hesitated for a second, then hastily put down his glass and stood up. I'll go to the restroom first. As he left the table, he accidentally knocked over his glass. The spilled drink and the sound of the glass shattering attracted some curious glances from people around us. Without looking back, he hurriedly walked towards the restroom. The waiter came to clean up and replaced the tableware. A tall figure stood in front of me. He ran off. Emily plopped down in front of me, eager to see how he would lie to my face. Emily was one of the few friends I had. Our friendship had endured from college to now. But due to work reasons over the past few years, she had been living in another city, so we rarely got to meet. I had not told her about the accident I had with John and our joking about amnesia. It wasn't until she mentioned coming to see me last time that I told her everything. This was why John dared to lie to me. He understood me, knew I didn't like sharing my life with others and was used to sharing the good but not the bad. So he never worried that I would spread the news about my memory loss or go around asking others to confirm whether he was my friend or my boyfriend, let alone his friends, who wouldn't care about the extent of our relationship. So in the end, it was just me, him, and Nina playing tug-of-war. The rest of the people were simply going about their lives. As expected. I said. I guessed he would leave. John can lie to me unilaterally, but if a third person who knows the whole truth gets involved, he definitely can't handle it. So, his only option now is to escape. Evading problems has always been a trick men use. Of course, I didn't bring Emily over today to confront John. I just wanted to let her show up and enjoy watching John flee in panic. Emily got straight to the point. I do have a suitable candidate for what you mentioned last time. After sending Emily away, when I came back home at night, it was pitch dark inside. As I was about to turn on the lights, Nina's voice came. I know you didn't lose your memory, it was an assertion. I paused my action of turning on the lights and squinted towards where she was sitting. The photo album was a test, the ring was a test, and you invited him for dinner today. I think you must have prepared some unexpected surprise for him as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't immediately arrange a business trip to avoid you. You hold the answers, watch him panic, listen to his lies, like watching a clown. You want him to be restless about his lies. John would rather keep lying than let you move out. I know he still has feelings for you, but that's it. Otherwise, he wouldn't be glad that you lost your memory, and then go along with you saying you're just friends. Nina's voice gradually turned cold. I won't tell him that you faked your memory loss. That would just make him feel guilty towards you, which serves me no good. But, no matter what your purpose is in doing this, I'll see it through. Don't expect John to come back to you. A click. I pressed the switch and turned on the light. The bright light immediately filled the whole room, causing Nina to shield her eyes. I changed my shoes and said, I don't know what you're talking about, I already have a boyfriend. She froze, looking like someone who had issued a challenge fiercely but found no one to accept it. Her gaze followed me, filled with vigilance and confusion. You have a boyfriend? Wendy, what are you up to? I casually walked towards the bedroom, feeling tired, ready to sleep. No matter what Nina knows, it doesn't affect me. Anyway, she won't tell John. She might even make John believe that I actually lost my memory, so he can continue to be content with her. Certainly, I won't give her a definite answer, and it's unnecessary to tell her what exactly I'm planning to do. The next day, at the restaurant. Sorry for the long wait. When Ryan sat down, for a moment I thought he sat in the wrong place. Seeing my confusion, he explained, Emily asked me to come, I'm her cousin. Ryan, I had heard Emily mention this name before. Ryan, talented and successful at a young age, already a chief resident at the hospital. Did Emily tell you why I'm here? I asked Emily to help me find someone to pretend to be my boyfriend, to play some scenes with me. But I didn't expect her to find someone of such high caliber. He gives me the impression that he was deceived by Emily into coming. Ryan looked at me with a hint of a smile. Don't worry, I volunteered. I took a sip of water, feeling embarrassed. But Ryan didn't let the awkward atmosphere linger for too long. During the wait for our meal, he initiated a conversation. The chatting process was pleasant and relaxed. When the time was almost up, I got up. Ryan asked me, do you need me to do anything? I hesitated a bit, then finally said, it's all right, just watch. I walked to the piano in the center of the restaurant, tuning it, when Nina came in with John, arm in arm. Today is Nina's birthday. I had seen her Instagram post early in the day. John had given her roses and a necklace. She had even mentioned looking forward to the dinner at 8 o'clock that night. So, I decided to join their little drama. When John saw me, there was a moment of surprise, and after seating Nina, his gaze remained fixed on me. I began playing Fallon, All in You. I could feel John's gaze on me, burning with intensity from start to finish. Because on his birthday, I had played this song for him. It was the first time I had shown my piano skills to him, and he was so impressed that for a long time after, he kept watching the recording repeatedly. He said, Wendy, I'll never forget today. As the song ended, there was enthusiastic applause around. Just as I was about to stand up, I saw Ryan holding a bunch of tulips, smiling as he approached me. I was surprised, didn't expect him to bring flowers, nor did I expect him to cooperate willingly. I did intend to interact with Ryan after playing the song, but I couldn't bring myself to ask him a moment ago. Well played, he handed me the flowers. Glancing behind me, his eyes turned a bit colder, then he gently pulled me into a hug. My pupils dilated. He explained, your ex-boyfriend came. Wendy, who is he? Ignoring Nina's attempt to pull him back, John walked over to me, with a bit of anger, questioning me. I stepped out of Ryan's embrace, intending to link arms with him for a closer appearance. But considering his identity, I held back. The next moment, he grabbed my hand, though. What should we say? He turned his head to look at me. I'll handle it myself, I said, looking at John. You already know, right? He's my boyfriend. After telling Nina about my boyfriend, John, who was on a business trip, immediately contacted me. He started by subtly asking if my memory had recovered at all, to which I replied that I still didn't remember anything. Upon receiving my negative answer, he mentioned Emily. I denied ever meeting Emily and told him she was currently studying abroad. John didn't contact Emily much and didn't know if I was telling the truth. So he believed me, thinking my memory hadn't recovered yet. He continued to play along, asking about my boyfriend. I confirmed that I indeed had a boyfriend. After a long silence, he asked, "Why didn't you mention Ryan before?" I replied, "I met Ryan at the hospital." Fate works in mysterious ways. It's not uncommon to get together when you click with someone. John fell silent after that. Now, he's looking at me with a complicated expression, clenching and unclenching his fist. "Did you play this song for him on purpose?" he asked. I nodded. Today is Ryan's birthday, and this is the surprise I prepared for him. He suddenly looked lonely. "But you said you'd only play this song for me, have you forgotten?" Nina, John, looking at me with a complicated expression. He then repeated, "In any case, you can't go with Ryan to that place." He didn't want to say it. But he didn't want me to overshadow his beautiful memories with someone else. It's rare to hold on to an ex while enjoying the happiness brought by someone new. I tried to leave, but he stood firmly at the door, not letting me pass, still holding on to my suitcase. "John, let go." John blocked my way rudely. "You can't go with him." Suddenly, a hand landed on his shoulder, forcefully pulling him back. "Where is my girlfriend going?" "It's not your business." John stumbled back, letting go of my suitcase. Ryan caught it and said, "It's been a while since I saw you, I was worried. Sorry for intruding." "It's fine," I shook my head, "let's go." John watched me leave unwillingly, but with Ryan there, he could only watch silently. In Finland, the northern lights were dazzling. It was under these lights that John proposed to May. He didn't have a proper ring ready, so he used a soda can tab. But his kneeling posture was sincere, and his trembling hand holding the ring showed his nervousness. He said, "Wendy, I planned to propose to you after my career stabilized, because I was afraid I couldn't provide you with a good life. But now, I'm more afraid that you won't wait for me. If you're not in my future, I don't know the point of striving. So, forgive my selfishness, I want to lock you by my side early. Will you marry me?" His hand trembled, his voice choked up, tears welled up in his eyes. Naively, I was touched by him, thinking this moment was eternal, so I nodded and accepted his proposal. But it seems that some people can only share bitterness, not sweetness. He chose you when he had no other options because he didn't have any. When his choices expanded, you were no longer his only option. Fortunately, thinking about these things now doesn't make me sad anymore. In the end, I made it through. I looked at Ryan standing in front of me, tall and handsome, making the dazzling aurora borealis seem like just a backdrop for him. Feeling excited, I raised my phone to take a picture of him, and he happened to turn around and look at me. The photo captured his sharp profile against the colorful northern lights as if they were shining just for him. I sent him the photo, thinking about how to ask him if I could use his picture for my social media. Ryan looked at the photo and suddenly suggested, "Let's take one together." He asked a passerby to help, thinking we would just take a simple photo standing side by side. But when we saw the picture, I was looking at the aurora, while Ryan turned his head to look at me. "Nice shot," Ryan commented casually. His attitude was so natural that I didn't pay much attention. I hadn't forgotten the purpose of coming to see the northern lights, so I gathered my courage and asked him, "Can I post your picture on Instagram?" "Sure, go ahead," he replied after a moment of thought, I decided not to post our photo together but uploaded the picture I took of him alone. After posting it, I noticed Ryan had also posted a story, featuring the photo we took together. I looked at him in slight surprise. Calmly, he put away his phone and said, "Wasn't it more authentic this way? I was just going along with your plan." Ryan truly was good at keeping his cool in any situation. Later, I saw Emily leaving multiple exclamation marks under Ryan's story, and then I received a call from her. "Are you really dating my brother?" "No, he just played along with me." "Don't tell me you think he has nothing better to do than act with you?" "It might be your first time meeting him, but it surely isn't his first time meeting you." I paused for a moment. I couldn't recall any other time meeting him. Someone as outstanding as Ryan should be hard to forget, but I truly had no impression of him before I could say more. Emily hesitated and said, "I have to go now, call me if you need anything." As soon as I hung up, John's call came in. I hung up directly. He kept calling persistently and even sent me messages. "Wendy, please answer the phone, I need to talk to you. You can't be with Ryan. Please, Wendy, pick up the phone." I continued to ignore him. Back in Finland, Ryan asked if I wanted to go back home or stay at the hotel. I looked at the dozens of messages John had sent me, with the last one saying, "You've forgotten a lot of things, Nina. I'm waiting for you to come back and I'll tell you everything." I turned off my phone, a coldness spreading in my eyes. "Could you please take me back home?" This drama had finally reached its climax. When I got home and opened the door, I saw Nina crying with puffy eyes, desperately pulling at John's sleeve and pleading, "Did you tell her? What should I do?" Seeing me, John immediately pushed her away and eagerly came forward to take the luggage from my hand. "Wendy, you're back. Are you tired? Let me prepare some hot water for you. You can take a bath and rest for a bit." I sidestepped his approach, stepping back and keeping my distance from him. "No, I came back to pack my things and move out." "Move out?" John suddenly raised his voice. "Why do you want to move out? This is your home, where are you going to move to?" I lowered my gaze, concealing a mocking emotion in my eyes. "This is just a temporary home for me. Now I have a boyfriend, it's not appropriate to stay here anymore, and Ryan wouldn't be happy about it." "Ryan." John walked over excitedly, grabbing my shoulders, his eyes red. "You can't be with him. You're engaged, I've already proposed to you, I'm your fiancé. You forgot, I proposed to you in Finland, and you agreed." "John, please stop." Nina burst into tears as she tried to pull John away, but he shoved her aside. John continued, "I've been lying to you, we're not just friends. We've been together for 8 years. This ring," he anxiously took out the engagement ring I returned last time and pushed it onto my finger. "This ring is for you. It's the engagement ring I gave you back. We planned our wedding together, you said you wanted it on a big lawn, with a hot air balloon. Have you forgotten?" I looked at him calmly. His shoulders sagged, face full of desolation. "You can't forget, Wendy, how can you forget those things? You said you only love me, we were so close to getting married, you can't be with Ryan. I'll tell him you're my fiancé." He pulled out his phone, trying to call Ryan. But in his rush, the phone slipped from his hand as he bent down to pick it up. Nina grabbed it before him. "John, calm down. Give me back the phone." Nina shouted, "Wendy hasn't lost her memory at all, she's doing this to provoke you. You've been deceived by her." John fell silent instantly, slowly turning to look at me, disbelief in his eyes. "Is what she said true? Have you been lying to me the whole time?" I smiled lightly. "What do you think?" I needed Ryan to play along with me, repeating each scene that held sentimental meanings for John to provoke him into revealing his own lies. I recounted the heartfelt promises he had made to me. "Wendy, be with me, and I'll treat you well for a lifetime." He talked about the first business deal. "Wendy, I will make sure you have a good life, I will buy you a big house and everything others have." He kept revising the wedding vows. "John, will love Wendy for a lifetime, through sickness and health, no matter rich or poor." Looking at him, I wondered, John, who forgot? His face looked hurt as he gazed back at me. You didn't forget, but why did you lie to me? At that moment, he tried to push all the blame onto me. Finally, I let it all go. John, I gave you chances to be honest, that photo album, the ring I took back, and you finding Emily at the restaurant. But you chose to evade each time, using one lie to cover up another. His pupils dilated. You said Emily didn't go back abroad, right? I realized even that was a lie. You and Emily both lied to me. John's emotional barriers collapsed as he crouched down, holding his head in pain. I don't blame you for lying to me. I haven't forgotten the promises we made. Can't we be together like before? Next month, we're getting married, with a big lawn and hot air balloons. Don't blame me for lying. Who started weaving the giant lies? Going back to how things used to be. It all seemed so ridiculous. Men always like to downplay their mistakes, brush them aside, and then act like victims to make you doubt if you were wrong. What about Nina? John looked coldly at her. She made me lie and say we were just friends. She even wanted you to move out then, but I insisted you stay. It's not about her. If you're not happy, I'll fire her right away so she won't show up before you again. I was just foolishly led by her, and I swear there won't be a next time. Wendy, I still love you. Without a word from me, Nina lunged at him and slapped him. John, are you even a man? She didn't lose her memory. Why can't you just break up with her now and be with me? John was equally harsh, slapping her back. What nonsense are you talking about? How could I be with you? Don't think I don't know. You just saw my money and wanted me to clear your family's debts. Playing along with you was already being kind. Don't fantasize about anything more. Nina instantly broke down, losing her mind, grabbing a fruit knife from the table and aiming it at John directly. You said you would break up with her once you had a chance to explain to her and then marry me. John, you're not a man. Her knife went straight for John's vital part. John dodged urgently but got slightly cut. Blood showed through his light-colored pants. His face twisted in pain. He grabbed a vase nearby and forcefully smashed it on Nina's head. Stop acting crazy. Blood trickled down Nina's head. She froze, wide-eyed and disbelieving as she collapsed. Nina was taken away in an ambulance. John was taken away by the police, his mind still somewhat dazed. He kept repeating to me, Wendy, we're getting married next month, okay? I'll make sure you ride the biggest hot air balloon in the country and then recite our vows at the highest point. As the car door closed, John's voice was cut off. Ryan stood by me. Are you okay? I realized he had never left since dropping me off at the hotel. I shook my head. I'm fine. He took me back to the hotel, where I fell asleep from exhaustion. He stayed in the living room until Emily rushed over that evening to keep me company. Emily went over everything with me from start to finish. You weren't hurt during their argument, right? I shook my head, reassuring her, I'm fine, don't worry. That's good. I took a leave from work. I'll be with you this week. Emily stayed with me for 3 days, and on the 4th day, I received a call from John's lawyer, stating that John wanted to see me. I had heard about what happened between John and Nina these days. Nina had suffered brain nerve damage, though not life-threatening. She was still unconscious and might end up in a vegetative state. Her family had taken John to court. John refused to accept the verdict, planning to appeal and requesting to meet me. I agreed. Emily was worried. Why bother about him at this point? You're not still holding on to him, are you? Of course not. I just want closure. It's okay. I'll be right back. John visibly looked more haggard, but his eyes lit up when he saw me. Wendy, I knew you still had me in your heart. Don't worry, I'll be out soon. My legal team is strong. Stay home and wait for me. Once I'm out, we'll go try wedding dresses. If you don't want the ring, we'll go pick a new one. But I cut him off. John, it's over between us. Ignoring my words, he continued, just in case we need a last-minute wedding planner. We might not get the best one available. But it's okay, we can pay extra to jump the queue. I handed him the prenatal exam report. He was stunned. You're pregnant with Ryan's child? He carefully checked the date, then suddenly jumped up in excitement. It's my child. Wendy, I'm going to be a dad. I need to hurry and have my lawyer get me out. Wendy, you have to testify for me in court for the sake of our child. I acted in self-defense, okay? I knew how much he loved children. He was genuinely joyful, his excitement turning his ears red. Then, I showed him the receipt from the abortion I had at the hospital. It was the day I planned to talk things out with John, holding the ring, only to find out he had just undergone surgery with Nina the day after their affair. John plummeted from cloud 9. The light in his eyes slowly dimmed, his hand holding the receipt trembling. You killed my child? You didn't want him. I said. If you had just asked one more question at the hospital, or personally checked with the doctor about my condition, this child would still be in my womb. We were supposed to have a wedding. He could have called you Dad. But, you didn't really care about me. Your first instinct was to distance yourself from us, denying our 8 years of love. My amnesia lie wasn't very clever. If you had wanted to confirm even a little, you would have found clues. But you didn't. You just kept lying, hoping I would never remember. While I was upset, you were busy enjoying your newfound happiness and excitement with someone else. John, you betrayed me first. John cried for a long time, holding the prenatal exam report. He kept apologizing. I'm sorry. I got up and left. Outside, the sun was shining bright. Emily stood in the sun waving at me, over here. Ryan stood next to her. John stopped appealing and accepted the court's ruling. He compensated Nina for medical expenses and was sentenced to several years in prison. His company suffered as he went to jail, eventually going bankrupt and being taken over by another company. And Nina was eventually diagnosed as being in a vegetative state. On my birthday, Emily said she wanted to give me a gift. It was the shares of the company John had been acquired by. I know you have a deep connection to this company, considering the effort you put in when it was first established. So, I'm giving it to you. You can now run it well. I was surprised. You're the one who acquired the company? Emily shook her head, then gestured towards the restaurant door. I don't have that kind of power yet. To buy a company on a whim. It was my brother who had my dad buy it, and then he arranged for me to give it to you as a favor. Ryan sat down just then and lightly tapped Emily's forehead with his hand. What about me? Emily stuck out her tongue and said, Thank you, Dar. Ryan, for still willing to act with Wendy despite your busy schedule. Ryan responded calmly and naturally, You're welcome. Emily was straightforward, I worry for you. Ryan didn't reply, handing me the menu. What would you like to eat? I looked down at the menu. He said, No rush, there's time. Ryan's epilogue. The first time Ryan heard Wendy's name was on the school radio. Every day after school, her voice echoed through the campus. What he liked most was when she said, Hello everyone, I'm Wendy. The first time Ryan received a note from Wendy was during a school assembly. The school held a message in a bottle activity. Each student wrote a blessing on a piece of paper and put it in a bottle, which were then placed in the swimming pool. Students could pick one at random. Ryan was lucky enough to pick Wendy's note. Her handwriting was neat and beautiful. He could almost imagine her sitting upright at her desk, carefully writing each character. The first time Ryan took a photo with Wendy was for the school's group picture. Later, Wendy unsurprisingly got into a prestigious university. Ryan chose to repeat a year. At that time, Wendy was dazzling. Meanwhile, Ryan was facing a huge family change, fighting with his family, with the school, and with himself. Ryan's mother passed away when he was in the first year of high school, and his father hastily remarried. Ryan fought back in his own way, indulging in food, turning himself into a chubby person. He argued with teachers in class, was often late or left early, intentionally making the teachers call his parents, upsetting his father until the second year of high school. When he heard Wendy's voice, he stopped skipping classes and stayed after school just to hear her say, Hello everyone, I'm Wendy. By the third year, he got Wendy's note. A beam of light seemed to shine into his dark life. He suddenly felt he couldn't continue to deteriorate. He needed to become stronger. Strong enough to protect the ones he cared about. The last 100 days couldn't create miracles. He could only silently wish for her to be admitted to her desired university. At that time, the wretched him didn't dare to hope for the moon in the sky. Her moon, at that moment, shining on him was enough. If there was a future, he would give his all to protect her.